Hey everybody, this is Mr. McKee again with Net 226. Today I'm going to be going over Packet Tracer 7.6.1, which is WAN concepts. Alright, this is only has questions. There's no scoring for the activity in Packet Tracer itself. So big part of it is just understanding all the WAN technologies that you might come in contact with in your career. Alright, I've clicked on a bunch of those, but looking at this from left to right, you have a business wide area network. So everything inside of the, I guess that's like a, I don't know, aqua blue background. All right, you have 3 stores, each with their own layer 3 switch. Each of those stores has 3 PCs on here. All right, from store to the store net, the main kind of like distribution switch. You have that going from there over to the business headquarters router. And by the way, if you look at these connections are actually fiber connections. All right. Let me try to mouse over this thing. Because if I do this, fiber, click on that. So it has a gigabit 112 and 113. Those are fiber connections. All right. So you've got fiber coming from each store to the store net, and then from there to the business headquarters, and then it has its own layer 3 switch in here, HQ net, and then from there it goes out with copper straight through cables. All right, everything else. So solid blacks, copper straight through. Solid red line is it's a WAN connection, but it's a fiber connection. All right. More than likely, I don't know how they have these set up. This I would think maybe a store that's like maybe a kilometer away or something like that can be fed with that type of fiber. More than likely though, these days all your stores would be a connection to the internet with a VPN connected between your stores and your headquarters. All right, unless they're physically really close, and also it's really expensive to have your own fiber between built stores to a headquarters. But years ago when they had dedicated connections, you had a you physically had a secure connection between you and the all your stores. All right, that was really expensive though. Nowadays with the internet, you can just use an encrypted connection between your stores with the VPN. All right, and that's like a lot cheaper. All right, from there he goes out the business headquarters on a WAN serial connection out to an ISP. It has ISP or / telephone company. All right, so more than likely, like this is a cloud right here, but these would more than likely be on a cloud too. But just for simplicity's sake, they just put them with fiber connections. All right, from the telephone company, you go out with now these are the blue Z's right here are coaxial cables. So like your standard like cable television connections. All right, it goes from the telephone company out to a cell tower, and that cell tower is feeding, that's their network, but it's feeding smartphones and mobile devices, things like that. And then another another coaxial connection goes from the telephone company to a consumer's house, and then it goes to a splitter where the signal gets split off from the telephone, TV connection or signal, and then your data connections over there on the cable modem. All right, and it goes from there out to a wireless router, and then out to a laptop. All right, and then you have another connection, which this dashed black line with a little Z pattern, that's just a phone line. All right, so just phone line coming all the way from the central office of the ISP out to your house. And then they have DSL modem at the house, and then from there it goes out serial connection, or I'm sorry, copper crossover cable from there to your wireless router, and then out to a tablet PC and laptop via wireless. All right, whole bunch of stuff on there, but basically that's how it's set up. All right, so in this activity, you will investigate various types of WANs by exploring a topology that uses diverse connectivity technologies. Describe different WAN connectivity options. All right, and I did make a Word document that I'm going to put on Moodle for you guys to fill out with all the questions, but there is 15 questions, and a couple of these questions actually have 2 sub-questions in there, so I'm saying 15 questions, but there are 2 of them you actually have to answer 2 different things, and you'll see that in a second. All right, and there's no grading for the actual packet tracer in this activity. All right, so part 1 is investigate consumer WAN technologies for home and mobile devices, and explore consumer WAN technologies. In the set, you'll explore 3 consumer WAN technologies and home networks. And look at the 2 home networks, which that's the cable and the DSL. What is the WAN technologies in use? All right. So here you're using DSL, or digital subscriber line, and in the other one you're just using a cable modem setup, or coaxial cable. And to let you know, I haven't installed cable modems before, but they're kind of similar to a DSL. I mean, the technology is different, but it basically is supplying you data and you know, television service if you have that. Excuse me. And then DSL does the same thing. It usually they offer TV channels over that too, but it's usually just data running over top of your existing telephone line. And some people still have LAN connection, or not LAN connections, a landline, which is basically a wired telephone line. But if not, they just have data running across that telephone wires. All right, and when the signal comes from the central office and then goes over to your DSL modem, the signal actually they have this has a splitter right there, but DSL also has a splitter, or if it doesn't have a splitter at the NID, which is that plastic box that sits outside your house where the line comes in. If that doesn't have a splitter in there, it actually has where all the telephones are. You have filters that you have to plug in the telephone lines right at your phones to filter out not really the DSL signal coming from the central office, but your modem. When that dials up to the central office, you hear that static, the dial-up noise across the line when that happens. All right. So if you don't have a splitter, or your splitter, I guess, has an issue, or your filters are not working, it'll be really staticky on the line, and that's the modem dialing up to the central office's, probably the DSLAM, they call it, digital subscriber line access multiplexer. All right, it sits at the central office, or it might sit outside at some, remote device where your telephone line connects to, and then from there it goes over to the central office. All right, but other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. And a lot of times your DSL modem and your wireless router will be the same device, and same thing for cable. All right, I know I have fiber at my house that has like a fiber modem, I guess you would call it, and it's just like a DSL modem, but it's just fiber all the way up to inside the house, and then from there it splits off to a crossover cable, or not crossover, a straight through cable. That says crossover, but you can use either because it auto senses the connection. All right, so let's get through this thing. All right, so in this step you will explore 3 consumer WAN technologies and home networks. Let's get 2 home networks. What are the WAN technologies in use? Well, the first one is cable, right, from cable company, and the second one is DSL coming from the telephone company. All right. And I know a DSL you usually pay for a certain speed. Now, cable, I think you do similar, but that used to be like a shared connection, so when more people get on there, it might slow down. DSL, on the other hand, it doesn't give you exactly the speed that you're wanting, more than likely, but it has that set speed where it doesn't slow down just because of more people getting on a shared line. All right. So examine the connections used in the network topology by selecting the connections icon, the orange lightning bolt, in the packet tracer devices menu, which I just did that. Hover over the media icons to display their names in the white box at the bottom of the PT window. All right, so like that. I know that is a telephone line. It's telling me right there, and so on. The only thing that's weird is the fiber lines. That is not orange, right? But that's a fiber line. And the way you can kind of like tell is it's this right here. It should be that. Because you have if you hover over the layer 3 switch, which should do it. All right, that should, whoops. That shows you that 1.1.1, where is it? The 1.1.1 should have it. If I, right there, gigabit 1.1.1 is fiber. All right. So let's see. What media is used to connect the two home networks to the ISP? You can look at that by mousing over it. You got cable or coax, and you have telephone line. All right, click the DSL modem and open the physical tab. And I'm going to scroll this up. All right, physical tab, which that's the only tab we see. Oh, and I missed one right here. So what media is used to connect the two home networks to the ISP, and what devices in the home network are directly connected to the ISP? So your modems, or you could see that splitter, but that's fine. All right, so now we're to the DSL modem. On the physical tab, what ports are available in the device and what is connected to them. All right. So right here you have a telephone connection, and then you have your which is right there, and then you have your crossover cable. Let's see. Okay. What is the purpose of the DSL modem? And that basically converts that telephone connection over to your data connection to Ethernet. So your telephone data network, the signal is coming from that to your Ethernet for your home network. All right, and it's actually a higher frequency than your telephone, your humans can hear, so it's like a higher frequency, so you wouldn't even hear it until the modem makes noise. You wouldn't even hear the actual signal coming from the ISP. All right, so let's see. Which port does the cable from the cable modem connect to on the home? Whoops, did I miss one? This thing's hard to follow. All right. So what type of connection between the ISP telephone cable company network and the home network? All right, so that's the coaxial cable. And why is the splitter necessary? It's necessary to split the signal for the TV from the data. All right, so why is the splitter necessary? We just answer that. I put it, if I said that twice, I just had to push pause for a second. All right, look at the ports on the cable modem. So let's click the cable modem. All right. If I zoom in, I guess I could have done that on the other one too. All right, so you have a coaxial cable right there, and you have fast Ethernet. All right. So what does the cable modem do? It converts the signal coming from the cable company to your Ethernet to go out to your local area network. All right, look at the ports. Okay. So what connections does it have? It has a coaxial connection, and it has a Cat5 connection, or Ethernet connection, RJ45. All right. Which port does the cable from the cable modem connect to on the home wireless router? Let's see if it even shows us. It should be that one. Let me see if I can zoom in. It's actually this one. The one that says internet. Okay. And all the four other ones are just wired Ethernet connections. You got like a reset button and power. I know that's that was an old school. Well, I've actually had routers that like that. All right. So let me see if I can find my place. Where did the interface IP address come from? It was assigned by the ISP, more likely DHCP. There's some other technologies too, PPPoE, things like that. I know on DSL they used to have that, but now they're DHCP, but same thing. Your address is assigned from your ISP. More likely it's not a static IP, it's just dynamically assigned, and unless you pay for a static, like if you want to serve a web server or something like that, you'd have a static IP. All right, so look at the smartphone. Which smartphone's up here? It's got real buttons. Some people like that. All right. What is its IP address? Well, as I clicked on the wrong thing, it didn't have one. Desktop. All right, so right now it's set to static, but I guess it should have been set to DHCP because it should pull an address from that network. Let's see what happens. It may not. I am doing that right? Let's see. Look at the smartphone. Okay, smartphone is the only smartphone I see. What is its IP address? Where did the IP address come from? That is a great question. Oh, there we go. Duh. All right, wow. Okay, yeah. I was looking on this other screen where to click that. But yeah, there you go. You have a wireless, if you're connected to Wi-Fi, then you have a 3G to 4G cell, right there, 198.51.100.101, and the default gateway is .1, and which is very strange also because that's not that network. Weird. Okay, but yeah, the answer would be 198.51.100. You guys might get something different. I'm looking at the instructor's manual. You may get a 100, but .101 would be correct. This is kind of weird. All right, so where are we at? What data service is the cell phone currently using? Cellular data or Wi-Fi? Well, since I don't get anything here, when I change it to DHCP, the only thing we're getting is the 3G or 4G. All right. So the step 2 is explore the business WAN. All right. In this step, you will explore the business WAN. The business is a retail tire store. Okay. It has a local headquarters where most of the business functions occur, and 3 stores that are connected to the business WAN. So yeah, more than likely, all those stores are connected across the internet. All right, look at this, the connections menu. What different types of connections do you see in use in the business network? All right, so let's click on StoreNet because we can see that that should be fiber and a straight through. So now if we zoom in, and it really doesn't show us, does it? Oh, there we go. There's your fiber connections. Can I zoom in more? Nope. All right, but we have 3 sets of fiber connections, right? And they're right here. So the 1000 base LXLH SFP, or small form factor plug, operates in gigabit Ethernet ports of Cisco Industrial Ethernet and smart grid switches and routers. All right, so we got fiber, we have just a standard straight through cable, which is Cat5, and also, where is the serial connection? Oh, let me click on here. Click on there, and then this will show you the serial connections. All right, so it has one. You have a connection right here for serial, and then everything else is either Cat5 or Cat6, whatever the case may be. All right, and you can, in one of these, you can actually put another. If you wanted to connect to other networks, you can put an additional serial connection in there. All right. So you got Ethernet over copper, which this is copper. Everything in black is the copper straight throughs. You got a fiber connection between the stores to the store net, and then you have a serial connection from business headquarters to the ISP. Okay, the answer is that. Open the physical view for the store net switch. All right, physical view. Oh, it was already there. What types of interfaces are present? All right. I don't know why that's so hard to read. All right. All right, look at the connections menu. What different types of connections do you use in the business network? Okay, we did that. Open the physical view on the store net switch. What types of interfaces are present? All right, kind of like the same thing. You have Ethernet, fiber, and I don't really know what that is. 2 gigabit, GLC, gigabit, GLCT, which that's gigabit. That's just a standard gigabit connection. If you put TE, that does a little different. All right, we have this right here. So we have the Ethernet copper. All right, we have the GLC LH SMD. All right, and that's it. All right, so let's see. So which interfaces and media are used to connect the store networks to the business headquarters network? So we know it's fiber. All right. Interface-wise, you can mouse over it. Come on. All right. You can see which interfaces. And the reason they do that, long distance, if you physically had to connect a store, it's a couple miles away, you could connect it with a fiber connection. All right, what type of WAN service is used to connect the business headquarters router to the ISP? It's just a serial connection. All right, and then finally, ping devices within the business WAN and the consumer WAN networks. Also ping between networks, and the ping between the networks and the web server. Can all hosts ping each other in the web server? All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to store 3 and see if I can ping the web server way out here. All right, ping 209.165.200.226. All right, so that connects. All right, now let's see if we can connect to something else, like see if we can connect to the smartphone. And remember, we got to go down here, ping 188.51.100.101. So I can't connect to that. Ping 198.51.100.100. Nope. All right. So I just pinged one, but I can ping the let's see. I can ping for the network business WAN to the web server. Let's see. Let me try up here. .200.226. All right, I can ping that. And let's go down to the. I'm going to go from laptop 2 on the cable modem network. Let's see if I can ping 65.200.226. All right, ping the web server from there, and then finally for the DSL network. And that should ping. Now, what I want to find out though, now can I ping between networks? That's going to be interesting to find out. Okay, so laptop 1, get from laptop 1 here. Can I ping laptop 2? and this shouldn't work. So let's see if it works. 2.168.0.100. Yep, that shouldn't work because that's an internal IP address. Pinging another internal IP address. NAT should stop that. NAT firewall. All right, now can I ping from laptop 1 to, let's see, store 1? Well, if it'll stay up. 192.168.10.3. 10.3. It looks like it's on a timeout. So that didn't work, but now pinging between these two networks, that definitely shouldn't. You can ping between them, and you shouldn't be able to do that. All right. All right. So I'm trying to verify what actually is happening in my case versus what's supposed to be happening. All right. So I can't ping, like, say, from store 3 out to a remote host out here. All right, which shouldn't let me do that. Now it does let me ping from here over to here. That shouldn't happen, but for the most part, you shouldn't be able to ping from inside one LAN over to another LAN. All right, and is this a good situation? In that case, yes, because those networks should not be accessible from the outside due to security reasons. All right, but I can actually ping there, so it is a good situation. You can't ping store 3-3 from the home DSL network or from a home cable network. All right, and that's it. I know it's kind of like hard to follow going like that, but I'm just trying to show you guys the big picture of the topology. So hopefully that wasn't too bad, but yeah, 15 questions, and a couple of the questions have multiple answers, like this one right here, this one right here, and etc. All right, so just all you need to submit is the completed Word document that I'll have on the submission link, and that's it. All right, thanks for watching.